Okay. So, welcome everybody.
Thank you.
Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Abridged Code of Jewish Law, Chapter 124. Chapter 124. So again, we're going to sort of summarize, so we can finish all the information about Tisha B'Av. It's a rather long chapter, as it looks like Tisha B'Av is going to be observed this Sunday, right? When I say it looks like, because hopefully Mashiach's coming before then. But Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, actually falls out on Shabbos, because Shabbos takes priority. So it's overrules Tisha B'Av, and Tisha B'Av is getting pushed on to Sunday. So the fast is going to start at sunset, even though it's still Shabbos until nightfall, but at sunset on Shabbos, on Saturday. So depending where you live, you know exactly what time that is, but that is when it begins. So chapter 124, number 1. So in the evening, so in other words, now at nightfall, we are going to take off our shoes. In other words, take off leather shoes. We can wear non-leather shoes. So in this book, it says when you come to shul, you take off the shoes. Because in those days, didn't have other shoes. Didn't have sneakers and Crocs and various things. So when you walked outside in the unpaved roads and the various things, you had no choice but to at least wear shoes for the trip, which is allowed if you have nothing else. But then when you come into the building, you take off your shoes. So we take off the shoes, and there's a custom. He says here to remove the paroichus, the curtain from the ark in the synagogue. Most places the custom is just to open it, but some places remove it totally. And we have less lights. So today we have electric lights, so we don't turn them all on. But what they would do in those days was they would light less candles. And where the chazan, the one leading the services, stand, there's different customs. Some people put 5 candles or different mounts, but whatever it is, they would only light 1 candle instead. And there'd be less light in the room in general. And when we daven Ma'ariv, we say the evening prayer. It's in a sort of low and tearful voice, so it's a little bit softer, a little bit, a little bit sadder. We don't say the Nachem prayer. There's a special prayer that's Nachem that's only said at Mincha. Now, after we finish the Shemona Esrei, the silent Amidah, there's a full Kaddish, and then we sit on the ground. And we put on a few more extra lights if need be, and we say the book of Eicha. Right? So those who joined us yesterday afternoon, we had some insights into it. We read the 5 chapters of the book of Eicha. It's has a bit of a mournful tune, and we say a few kinnois. Now, there's not really an English word for kinnois. We're going to loosely call them poems, but it's not really the right way to put it. But it's short prayers, short that are about the theme of the day, and a lot of them are poetic. They rhyme, or they're in they're in aleph-based order. Some of them have a play on words, various things, but so some of them are quite creative, but they're like prayers of morning. So in the evening we only say a few. It's different customs, but between 2 and 5. In the day, on Tisha B'Av day, we say more. So we say these kinnois, sitting on the ground. between each chapter, we pause a little bit. And when we read Eicha, we start off softer, and each chapter a drop louder. And the last verse, everybody says together in a loud voice. And that was the last verse that we discussed yesterday, that we ask Hashem to return us, and we'll return to Hashem. So that is, then after that, we say V'ata Kodesh and Kaddish, and that is the evening service. Okay. That's the evening service at Tisha B'Av. Number 2. Now, a person is meant to sort of express their grief, for lack of a better word, the entire Tisha B'Av. Now, at nighttime, you got to sleep, and it's a little hard to consciously feel your grief when you're sleeping. So what we do is we make our sleep a little less comfortable. You know, if a person normally has 2 pillows, you know, use 1 pillow, whatever it is, you do something a little less comfortable, right? That says, it mentions over here that some people sleep on the floor, but don't forget their usual sleep was on a straw mattress on a wooden board. So the floor was only 1 step down. For most of us, especially with a nice comfortable bed, a floor is quite a few steps down. But something a little less, so everyone's different, just there should be something. That's number 2. Number 3, law 3, in the morning, we don't put on tefillin. Now, we do put on the afternoon. I just want to mention that now so people don't get a misconception. We do wear tefillin on Tisha B'Av, but not until after midday. And generally speaking, at the mincha, the afternoon service, we'll get to there. But we don't put on the morning because tefillin are called the pe'er. Pe'er means like an ornament, a beauty. And on this day, the morning, in other words, morning before noon, our grieving is a little more intense, so we don't wear tefillin yet. We also don't wear our large talus that we use for davening. We just wear the regular tzitzis. And even those, we don't make a bracha on. So ideally, one should come a little bit earlier to shul. Now, when I say ideally, again, depends where you are. Some places, perhaps they don't have a service Tisha B'Av at all. Some places might only have one. But if you have a few choices, many people who are fasting, sometimes it's in their best interest to go to a later one. Just if you start the day a little bit later, helps the fast, helps get through the fast. Yes, David.
You said the word pe'er means adornment. So I'm just asking if there's any connection between that and his pyrus, person who's full of himself, sort of haughty.
No, it's not. It's not the same. I don't believe it's the same root. Same. Maybe it is because he's sort of like making himself. I'm not sure. So Hebrew grammar is not my forte. My apologies. But we can. All right. So
you're muted, Ben.
Oh.
Did you ask about itpa'arut? It's the same root as pe'er, yeah.
Same word? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like a person's adorning himself.
Well, he's making himself
unnecessarily
that he's not.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So I guess it's from the similar word. So in the ideal world, we'll come to shul a little bit earlier. In other words, to spend more time thinking about the day, about how we can affect change in ourselves and our community. as we don't always live in the ideal world, for many of us, especially in very hot climates, and the fast goes till, especially with those with daylight saving, and goes pretty late, then sometimes it's better to go to sleep in a little bit. Not too much, but, each one has to judge their situation. But in the ideal world, we want to try and go a little bit early. And during the day, we don't put on lights at all. Now, obviously, that's going to depend a little bit on the architecture of your shul. I was in Israel, was in this one shul in a bomb shelter. Right? So if you're not going to put any lights on, it's going to be a little hard to do any davening at all. It was a well and truly bomb-proof. I don't know, like foot thick, maybe more than a foot thick walls, solid cement. There wasn't much light coming in, so you have to put some lights on. But depending where you are, most places you can just during the day, at least for the morning service, and just have the natural light. And again, it's this idea of not having the lights on of morning. And we don't say Mizmor l'Soida. Right, the carbon tide that was brought, we couldn't bring on a fast day because you can't eat it. It's an interesting thing that we don't say it, because although it's fast day now, once there's a Beis Mikdash, it's not going to be a fast day, and we could bring the carbon tide on. But anyway, whatever it happens to be. We don't say the priestly blessing, and there's no tachnun. Right, so we essentially daven as per usual until the end of Shemona Esrei, leaving out Mizmor l'Soida. Then we have
They all make telephone.
right. Then we have then we leave out Tachnun. We take out a Sefer Torah, and we read a section that speaks about the different sort of the teicha, the rebuke. We read about different things, and we call up three people. After we read the Torah, we have a half Kaddish. We say a half Torah, a book reading from the prophets, which we use the tune of the Eicha. Then we put the Torah away, and then we sit on the floor again, and we say Kinnis. Now, ideally, again, in the ideal world, people should say Kinnis until midday. Now, in the book of Kinnis, there's quite a few there. And even if a person would daven at dawn, if they would say Kinnis and thinking about what they're saying, it's quite, some of them a little poetic and various things, there's probably enough there to keep you busy until midday. Now, many people don't read Hebrew so fluently, or they don't understand what they're saying, and it's a little bit, I'm not going to say meaningless, God forbid, but it's not as productive, to sit there for hours breaking the teeth on saying these difficult kinnis. So there are various translations. There's things you can read. Askol has a good sort of Tisha B'Av Siddur. There's some other books. There's plenty of things on the internet, and there are also books about the day. There's a very good book called The Story of Tisha B'Av, I think, from Maznaim. It's a thin book, and it's a translation of the Mon Lois. It's a collection of midrashim on Tisha B'Av. So there's something that you can sit and read, and so after that we say Ashrei and Uvel Tzion, and then that's it for the morning service. Yes, David.
It's unusual that you would think of all the days of the year, that should be the day that there's definitely Tachanan, because it's such a sad day. So how come there's no Tachanan?
Okay, because actually it's a semi-yontiv. Okay, how does it become a yontiv? It's a future yontiv. In other words, we will, when Mashiach comes, we'll see why everything happened and how it was part of the plan. And you know, and again, with the parable that we've mentioned before about a person having a terrible, painful surgery and the suffering, and can be quite extended, the suffering, you know, because till the stitches heal and you know, all kinds of things. But then afterwards, the day they had the surgery becomes a yontif for them, saved their life, and perhaps improve their quality of life and various things. So we actually said we side point to this for a different reason. In the house of a mourner, we don't say tachlan either, which also seems counterintuitive, right? And that's because although for us it's a sad time, you know, we've lost someone, but it'd be a little bit like, let's say, again, to give a parable, let's say you have a cousin comes from overseas on a business trip, and you know, you really enjoy their company, and when they leave, you feel quite sad. But as when you get the phone call that they made it home safely, you're happy for them. I mean, you're happy they made it home safely, even though you miss them. So when our loved ones, their soul returns to where they really belong, we're happy for them. For them, it's a joyful time. They're able to go home, and so therefore we don't say tachnun to you know, to be happy together with them. But even though it's a sad time for us, the reverse of this, by the way, is a shalom zocher. Right? When a baby boy is born, many people have a custom that Friday night they have a little something, and at the shalom zocher we serve mourners food. You know, chickpeas, or little other people serve little bundelach, little type of beans. Right. So again, so these round things are mourners food. Why? Even though we're overjoyed, you know, a sweet baby in the family. Everyone's happy and wishing mazel tov. But for the soul to have to come here, they're not so happy. So we're commiserating together with them. So we eat the mourners food, even though we're full of joy. So it's sometimes works that way. Right now, the rest of the day we're sort of in a bind. So we're not meant to work. Now, if someone's going to lose their job or something, they're allowed to work. Or if someone is literally penniless and they don't have what to eat after the fast, then they're allowed to work. But in the ideal world, and I keep saying ideal because we don't always live in the ideal world. Right? We don't always live in the ideal world.
I had learned, Rebbe, that if you had the choice and you choose to work, you will see no benefit from the work you did.
That is correct. You won't see any blessing from it. I'll just point out though, let's say someone who didn't have what to eat after the fast. In other words, now halacha allows them to work, or at least work enough to get what they need for after the fast. That might not apply to them because they're working in a situation where Torah allowed them to. But
Right.
those who feel, well, you know, it's not technically yontiv, I'm going to go in and you know, make another deal, then there'll be no blessing from what's earned that day. That's correct. But in the ideal world, and again, people have, if they're in a complicated situation, they should discuss with their rabbi, who they normally ask their questions to, and find out what they should do. But in the ideal world, we're not working, so we're not at work. We also can't learn the majority parts of Torah, because learning Torah makes us happy, and there's an intellectual pursuit as well that's also enjoyable. So what are you meant to do? We can't waste time, right? The point of this day is not to waste time. Now, obviously, part of the day we're sitting there in self-reflection and we're thinking about how can we improve ourselves, how can we improve our communities, our families, our homes. But there's also a limit how much you can do on that as well. So we're going to study the parts of Torah. We mentioned this last week because it already starts in the afternoon the day before. We study the parts of Torah that don't make us happy, like the sections of the Talmud about the destruction of the temple, the book of Yirmiyahu, book of Eicha, the laws of mourning, these types of things. And again, I know it's a little bit late, short notice, but if anyone get their hands on that book, the story of Tisha B'Av, a very good book in English, helps you to give you something to study on the day. All right.
The translator is Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan.
Correct. Yeah. He translated pretty much all the Mamlois. But this is printed as a separate volume. And, he writes very well. Well, he did write very well, we should say. He's passed away. Now, a mourner, we should never know from such things, but a real mourner, we're speaking about someone who's sitting shiva. So they are allowed to go to shul on Tisha B'Av. Now, normally during the shiva, they don't go to shul. The service is in their home, but on this day, we're all mourners, and they come and join us. Right. So number 5 again is what we said about the learning Torah and things that we can't learn, and what we learn instead. There are some people who say that you can learn Musa and Chassidus, things that work on developing your character. Right? Because again, one of the points of the day is the fasting is a mean to an end. It's not an end of itself. It's to help us be in the right frame of mind to work on ourselves and to change. So those type of works of Musa and Chassidus that work on, that speak about self-development, improving ourselves, so even though they're not sad topics per se, but it fits in with the spirit of the day. Okay, number 6. Now, even pregnant women and nursing women need to fast on Tisha B'Av, even if they're going to be very uncomfortable. Now, again, I'm probably don't need to say this every time, but we will. We're not speaking about life-threatening situations or the various health things we're going to say here. That's obviously a totally different situation. We're not speaking about whether there's problems or the complications in the pregnancy, God forbid. All those things are different. And again, each person should speak to their rabbi that they ask their questions to look at their exact situation. But generally, so fasting is harder on a lady who's pregnant or nursing. I mean, I can't speak from experience. I wasn't pregnant or nursed before, but it's harder than regularly. So other fasts, they're exempt from fasting. Again, not Yom Kippur. That's a separate thing. And as we're saying, not Tisha B'Av, but pretty much all the other fasts, they're totally not obligated to fast at all. But this fast, they need to fast a very serious day. Again, if there's going to be any issues, then that's a separate story. Speak to their rabbi, look at their case. But if it's just going to be discomfort, then they should finish the fast. Now, sick person. Now, sick person, again, in this case, we don't mean they have a runny nose. We mean someone who's bedridden. So there's not a life-threatening situation, but they're bedridden. So we can be lenient, and they don't have to finish the fast, but they should fast some of the day if they can. Again, you have to look at their situation. Now, a lady who's recently given birth, meaning between 7 and 30 days after birth. So the first 3 days after the birth, she shouldn't fast. She really, it's not safe. First 3 days after the birth needs to recover energy. And again, this came out where there was no complications. If God forbid there were complications, it could be even longer than 3 days. She shouldn't fast. But providing all went smoothly, God willing, then for the first 3 days, she doesn't fast. Between 7 and 30 days, she's in the same category as this sick person, this bedridden sick person who's not in life-threatening situation. So therefore, if she feels, if she herself feels strong enough and healthy enough to fast to complete it, she should. But if not, she doesn't have to finish the fast. And obviously, those who are allowed to eat on Tisha B'Av only eat what they need to eat for health. We don't have a 10-course barbecue banquet, and various things, or chocolates, or these various things. We just eat what needs to be done. Okay, so on Tisha B'Av, there's the concept of fasting, but there's other things that we can't do as well. So there's washing. Now during the 9 days, as we said, we can wash if we're dirty, which includes being sweaty, and we said that we could shouldn't have a nice hot shower or something, but you can put in a bit of warm water to take the bite out of it. And although it ends up, you can wash each part of your body, but you can't wash your whole body at once. That was during the 9 days. Now, the day of Tisha B'Av itself, we're going to be a little bit stricter even than this. So washing without a need, we'll get to in a moment what's called a need, but washing without a need is even not with cold water. So not hot water, not cold water. Now, even to dunk your finger into water to make yourself feel more relaxed is also not allowed, right? But the type of washing that you're not allowed to do is a washing that's a washing for enjoyment or pleasure, which would even include, on the fast day, sometimes people like to put a wet sort of cloth over the head, that's also sort of a washing for pleasure. But if it's not for pleasure, then you're allowed. So, for example, after one goes to the bathroom or something, so you're washing for hygiene, not washing for pleasure. If you spill something on yourself or whatever it happens to be, if there's actual something there, you're allowed to wash it off. So that's allowed. Now in the morning, so every morning, of course, we wash our hands, we pour the water, wash Negel Bas, we pour the water 3 times in our hands. On Tisha B'Av, we only wash till the knuckle. On a regular day, we have to wash from the wrist all the way to the fingertip. On Tisha B'Av, we're going to wash from the fingertips to the knuckle. I will mention, though, that if someone is handling food on Tisha B'Av, either for themselves if they are not meant to fast, unable to fast, or for children, they should wash their whole hand before they touch the food. That's just a side point. So we wash their fingertips while it's a little bit wet. We'll just wipe our eyes, but that's it. We're not going to wash our face or wash out our mouth, brush teeth, any of these things on Tisha B'Av, unless we actually get dirty. Okay. Number 8. So as we said, people who are handling food should wash their whole hands, and they can, if they need to wash the food, the washing vegetables, let's say, even though that means their hands and whatever's going to get wet, then there's also not a problem because they don't have intention to do that. It just sort of happens. If you happen when you go home, you have to walk through a stream. I wouldn't imagine anyone here does, but you're allowed to go through as usual. If when you get home, if your feet, especially having been wearing shoes, your feet are a little bit sore, You're allowed to put them a little bit in water. All right. A lady is going to go to the mikveh that night. She should postpone it. Like she shouldn't do the washing. She wait till after the evening. Okay, so that's eating and drinking and washing. The next thing we can't do is called sicha. It's like putting oils and ointments and various things. Now, again, this is also for pleasure, right? So if someone needs it for medical treatment, let's say someone has a rash, eczema or something, and they need to put on creams, they're allowed to. But it means, it's not so common today, but people used to put in, oils on their skin, makes them feel good, invigorated, or as a beauty treatment. So all these things we leave aside. We need it medically, is no problem, but otherwise we put it aside. Number 11, we can't wear leather shoes, as we said. If it's made of anything else, is no problem. No problem. Just not leather shoes. Now you can wear leather everything else. Wear a leather jacket, leather pants, leather belts, leather shirts, whatever you want, but just not leather shoes. So we don't wear regular shoes. And the fifth thing that we don't do is we don't have marital relations on Tisha B'Av. And so we avoid that. 13, on Tisha B'Av, we don't greet people. Now, when everyone's observant and knowledgeable, and they know that you can't greet anyone, so although we often sometimes forget, because just habit, you see someone, you say good morning, something, but presumably we all remember, it goes reasonably well. Unfortunately, though, many people are unaware that we don't greet people on Tisha B'Av, and they could be very offended. If they greet you and you seemingly ignore them, or you don't greet them. Of course, we don't want to embarrass people, make people feel bad. What I normally do in my shul is when people walk in, I say, if it wasn't Tisha B'Av today, I'd say good morning now. And then and even those who've forgotten, they realize, and you're not ignoring people. So, but if it's someone who really doesn't know what Tisha B'Av is, and they say good morning or hello, I'm going to suggest that you greet them back. If it's someone that you think might be interested, you can explain to them what the day is and why we don't greet people without them feeling bad about it, that they already did greet you, then that's fine. But I think it's often better to be a little bit flexible on something like this than make someone feel miserable. Okay. Number 14. So we don't go for strolls. Again, if you have to go somewhere, you're going to shul, you're going to visit your grandmother, whatever happens to be, you're allowed to walk there. But we don't go for a stroll for enjoyment on the day. The day is meant to be spent working on ourselves. Okay, so number 15, we don't do any work on Tisha B'Av. Now, this is even work that doesn't require any great skills or talents. We don't do from the nighttime until midday. After midday, if it's something that doesn't require great skill, then there's not a problem. This is, as we said, we shouldn't go to work. Because we don't want to be distracted. We need to keep our mind on the day as much as possible. Something like milking a cow, again, mentions it here, but I'm sure most of us don't have cows at home. Anyone here have a cow at home? No. But you need to milk the cow, because if you don't milk the cow, it's painful for the cow. You're even allowed to milk the cow on Shabbos. You have to let the milk go to waste. because you can't have benefit that you milk the cow on Shabbos, but you can't let the animal suffer. They suffer if it's not milked. So Tisha B'Av, you can milk the cow. You don't even have to throw it away. Ideally, you should get a non-Jew to milk the cow, which means you're going to need to supervise it.
You don't have to milk him completely, but you have to milk him some
Yeah, if there's something, otherwise it's painful.
to relieve
Builds
the
up.
pressure.
Yes. Number 16. So till midday, we sit on a low chair, like a regular mourner. So if you ever seen a mourner sits on a low chair, so the maximum height for the chair is 3 tefachim, and this is a tefach. So sort of measure 3. A lot of people bring things to shul which are lower than usual, but if you actually look at it, it's more than 3 tefachim. So you have to be careful. You know, some of these milk crates and various things that people bring, they can perhaps be a little bit too high. And it's not like milk crates are so comfortable. They end up sitting on this uncomfortable milk crate and not be sitting on the right size thing anyway is a bit of a waste. You know, so
Even a regular chair is less than 2 tefachim.
A regular chair?
2 tefachim is 36 inches.
No. That's a amma. Is a
Amma.
tefach is about,
A tefach.
you know, this is a tefach, is the width of a fist.
4 inches, okay.
Yeah. So that's from midday onwards. We can sit on a chair. All the other things, though, we can't do until nightfall, till the 3 stars come out. And of course, before we eat this Sunday, as we mentioned last week, we're gonna have to make Havdalah, because we're not able to make Havdalah on Saturday night because we can't drink the wine. 17, we shouldn't start preparing the food for after the fast until after midday. You know, we don't start the whole day making this giant meal, whatever it is. If there's a bris, we have the bris after we say kinnis. Of course, we don't have the meal until afterwards. We do light candles in honor of the bris, right? Ideally, you should light candles for a bris. You know, sometimes you can't. You know, many shuls, they have today we've got electric lights, and so they have smoke sensors. And if you lit candles, you know, you make a flood. But where you're able to light candles, even though on Tisha B'Av we're having less light, we're not lighting candles on Tisha B'Av for the bris. We do light a candle in honor of the bris.
Rabbi,
Number 9, yes.
if a person is fasting for legitimate medical purposes, he would still not make Havdalah?
You say, oh, someone who can't fast, you're saying? Yeah, so they're gonna make Havdalah Saturday night. Well, I'll rephrase that. Someone who can't fast, depends what that means, right? So if they're able to, you know, they had the 3rd Shabbos meal and they don't need to eat till tomorrow, so they'll make Havdalah tomorrow on the Sunday. But yeah, before they're gonna eat, they're gonna make Havdalah. Once they, so if that's gonna, whenever that's gonna be. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's an important thing for people to know. And most people, medical reasons, better make Havdalah and grape juice than wine too. I mean, it's it depends what the situation is. At the bris, you can even wear Shabbos clothes. You know, the immediate family, that is. Not everyone who shows up. You know, the father, the parents, the moil, the sandik. And the cup of wine that we make the blessing on is given to a child, meaning someone under bar or bas mitzvah to drink. So we come to the midday. After midday, sometime in the afternoon, we're going to have mincha of the afternoon service. So we come, we put on a talis tefillin, we say the brachas on them, and then we say the parts of davening that we left out. Right, so we left out the song for the day. people will say Tillim and various things. Whatever we happen to have left out, we say that. And then we have Ashrei. After Ashrei, we read the Torah, just like any other fast day, with the Haftarah as well. And then we have the Shemona Esrei. We add a few things. We add Anenu, we add Menachem. So those who are familiar, I guess if you look in and normally say the Shemona Esrei, the Amidah, if you look in the Siddur or the Tisha B'Av davening book, whatever you happen to have, you'll see it there. Often in great boxes. Those who aren't familiar, I guess on this day we say a few little extra about the morning food of Jerusalem. That's one section. The other section is that the fact that we have to fast it all, we ask Hashem to hear our prayers. So after Mincha, we take off our tefillin and then use the time productively till it gets dark, and then we're going to have the evening service. All right. Now, as we mentioned briefly last week, the destruction. So it was the 17th of Tammuz is when the non-Jews entered Yerushalayim. Rosh Chodesh Av, they broke into the Temple Mount area. The 7th of Av, they took control of the whole Temple Mount. The 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, they set the Beis Mikdash on fire, but it burned until noon on the 10th. So not this year, but other years, because this year the fast is postponed. But if Tisha B'Av would have been actually on the 9th of Av, actually observe the 9th of Av, then we wouldn't eat meat or drink wine until midday of the 10th. So we could eat immediately after the fast, but we don't have the fancier foods. This year the fast itself is on the 10th. So Sunday night when the fast is out, there's different customs. Some people don't eat meat or drink wine at the evening either. They wait till the morning, although not till midday like usually. And some people don't. I guess whatever the custom is, and that applies to other things as well. Having a bath. In other words, washing the whole body at once, having a haircut, all these things. So this year, pretty much after this Sunday is fine. An exception to this is a woman who's given birth between the 7 and 30 days. She's allowed to have meat right after Tisha B'Av. Needs to get her strength back. So that is the observances of Tisha B'Av in a nutshell. There's I guess talking about the spirit of Tisha B'Av, so it's a little bit as well. It's as we said, the fasting, the morning is a means to an end. When we realize that we've lost something, this helps us change ourselves. Now, I'd like to share 2 quick videos with you. So I just got to get the my apologies. I left the 2 quick. Now I'm presuming when we share screen, everyone gets the sound as well. If for some reason you don't get the sound, please let me know. I'm just going to, of course, technology always goes slow when you,
You want something to happen.
that's right. Is this, just, okay. That is it. So let me just now share the screen. So this one has subtitles in Hebrew. So I guess if you don't have the sound, works. And it's not giving me an option to have it. Yeah. There we go. And let me just try again, sorry. Where's the okay, try share. Let's see if it works this time. That's not it. Here we go. Okay, does everyone see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear?
No.
Did you hear him speaking?
No.
No. Okay.
You'll have to speak and we will watch.
It's still.
Does anyone know how to share the sound?
Not me.
Oh,
Well, it's on pause now. Can you move
yeah,
it?
but did you hear it when it was on?
Almost. It was something and then it was very short.
Okay.
The cough is not part of it.
Right.
Yeah, did you hear
No.
that?
No, there's no
No.
sound.
No sound.
Even though the
Uh,
sound icon is on, there's no sound.
Just trying to work out how we get
The picture looks good.
how to share the sound. Well, this one has subtitles, so maybe we'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
Go back to the beginning.
No.
What time do you?
Rabbi, you have to mute the background noise.
Sorry?
You have to mute the background noise, not the video noise, but the background noise of the participants in the Zoom.
Okay. Yeah. How do I do that with everyone while I'm sharing? Maybe if everyone can just mute themselves, otherwise I think I have to stop the share and I'll end up starting again.
I don't hear any noise, so I don't know.
Yeah, although now I can't find it. Can't find the video anyway. All right, but I think everyone got the point of that one. All right, let me press back here. So were you able to hear anything of the sound?
No,
No.
No,
No.
okay. All right, so it lost some of the effect, but I'm gonna cheat for the next one. I've got the same video on the phone. I'm gonna play it simultaneously and you can listen to the sound from as I'm playing it. Let's see if that works.
You have to synchronize it.
Yeah, well, I'll press play at the same time.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will go.
Before you do that, you should mute all now.
I didn't hear any background noise.
There was a lot of background noise. It sounded like somebody's walking with their feet and crunching potato chips.
Okay, so I'm muting everyone now. And share screen first. Okay, can you see it? Okay. Can you hear?
no. It's very faint, or was. The sound on the video appears that it's muted.
Yeah, I'm playing from the phone.
Okay.
You don't hear anything.
Oh,
Now I hear something.
No dialogue.
okay. So I guess that didn't quite work as planned,
No,
but well, hopefully you saw in the second one, there was the boy that he woke up and actually he was dreaming, but the base of Mikdash was rebuilt. And the point of the video is that we should wake up. That should be our reality. Anyway, sorry it didn't work as planned. But so we'll see some of you tomorrow morning. And but we wish everyone, hopefully, as we said, you know, Tisha B'Av is already postponed this year because of Shabbos. Hashem should bless us. It should be postponed permanently. But if God forbid not, there should be a meaningful fast. We should really use the day well. And those who will see tomorrow morning will see then, and everyone else will see you in the 3 weeks, God willing. Unless you come to visit Phoenix. Anyone coming on vacation?
it's hot enough in
Not
Chicago.
yet.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
All right,
Goodbye.
Take care.
Stay
Thank
well.
you,
Bye.
Rabbi. Bye all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Bye.